What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the New York Giants 2019 rookie class and how they have performed up to date 3 weeks through the season. Now, in the video, I'm not going to go over every single rookie because not everyone has a role on this team thus far. Chris Slayton's not on the team. George Osopowajai is not on the team. Julian Love has been used very sparingly. Actually, I don't think he's been used at all. So not everybody am I going to go over. I'm going to go over the guys that have had a prominent role on this year's roster so far and how they have played up to date. But before I get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Damian Nicholson, who gave me the idea to make this video to give almost like an up-to-date report card on each individual rookie, how they performed for the New York Football Giants. Now, of course, as I mentioned, we had 10 rookies in this year's class. We originally, I believe, had 12 picks before we used a couple to move up and get Deandre Baker. In the first round, we took the quarterback, Daniel Jones, out of Duke at 6 overall. We then went and took Dexter Lawrence at 17, Deandre Baker at 30. We took Oshane Ximines in the third round, the edge rusher out of Old Dominion. Julian Love in the fourth marked our fifth pick. In the fifth round, we had a bunch of picks. We took Darius Slayton, the wide receiver. Ryan Connely, the linebacker out of Wisconsin, along with Corey Ballantyne, I believe was either the fifth or the sixth. Either way, a feel-good story there. Hasn't really gotten on the field either except in special teams. And then our last two picks were George Osopowajai and Chris Slayton in the seventh round, neither of which are on the roster right now. But in terms of the rookies who have made an impact, there have been 6 who have made a significant impact on this roster so far, and we're going to go over how they're playing up to date. And I believe the rookies have gotten better as the season has wore along, and I believe that to continue, week in and week out. But we'll start, of course, with the man, Daniel Jones, the quarterback, who got his debut last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a game in which he just played as good as it gets. I mean, the guy had over, 330 yards, 23 of 36, 4 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground, and the kid looked confident. That's the best thing you could say about this kid, and he brings an added dimension to this offense with his ability to make plays with his legs. He also led the team in rushing last week after Saquon Barkley went down. And even when Barkley was playing, he couldn't get much going on the ground. Daniel Jones looks the part. I will say he did make a couple of throws that made you scratch your head. There was the one where he threw it into double coverage, didn't see the safety, hit both of his hands, should have been an interception, and he did put the ball on the ground twice. So there's always going to be some things to work on, especially for a rookie quarterback. And I expect the Washington Redskins to adjust to what Jones did last week, getting some tape on him. But make no mistakes about it, the guy showed last week he can make the throws. The guy's arm strength was underrated coming into the league. He can move. He's smart. He's got a lot of the things that you want in an NFL quarterback. And I think me and a lot of Giants fans are starting to see why we did take him at number 6 overall. Gettleman obviously got bashed for that pick on draft night, but it's starting to prove that it may have been the right choice. Now we're going to have to see a lot more. I'm not going to, base it off of one game, but the kid's got the tools that you want in a quarterback. Make no mistake about it. And Daniel Jones has just been fantastic so far. He really has, and he's lived up to that number 6 overall selection to date. And right now is actually the favorite in Vegas to win the Rookie of the Year. So, as far as Daniel Jones goes so far, you got to give him an A. You can't expect much more out of a rookie quarterback in his debut performance. We'll see how he does against Washington. That's now going to bring me to the big fella. The 342-pound mammoth out of Clemson, Dexter Lawrence, at number 17 overall. I like Dexter Lawrence. I think he's a very good football player. On draft night, if I'm being completely honest, I would have preferred Montez Sweat. I wanted an edge rusher, which the Giants later did in the third round. We'll get to him in a second. But Dexter Lawrence is a very good football player. He fits this system very nicely. The Giants have been playing him on the DN spot. Certainly capable of playing in the middle, and a lot of Giants fans have been asking for that. Last game, Dexter Lawrence got his most playing time, and he had his best game. He came up with his first sack of the season. He also got a hand on one of those extra points, I believe. So without that, that's a tie ball game going into overtime. So Dexter Lawrence played a vital part in that win. I expect Lawrence, as his career goes forward, to become a better and better football player. I think this guy is going to be a very good player for this football team. I don't know if he'll ever be great, but I think he's going to be a very good player, and he's a guy that I really like for the New York Giants, and he's going to learn as he goes. But I think another thing that I like to mention about him that you see on tape, very good at batting balls. And I expect to see more of that as the season goes along and hopefully create some turnovers. something of which the New York Giants have struggled with this year up to date. But D-Law, keep grinding, buddy. I do like the pick there. I think he's going to be a very good player for this football team and one of the cornerstones for this defense once we get to the point where we need to be. Next up was one of the most popular players in this year's draft, the cornerback out of Georgia. He's a dog, right? I mean, he played for the Dogs, and this guy's a dog. He's a very cocky player, a guy that's in your face, a guy that wants to take on the best wide receiver. That, of course, is Deandre Baker, and he's a player that I really liked. Now, the knocks, we traded up to 30 to get him, and the knocks on Baker are that he's not the greatest athlete in the world. He ran about a 4.55 40. He lacks some height. I think he's 5'11", so tall receivers have an advantage over him. But the guy's a physical corner. He wants to take on the best receiver day in and day out. DeAndre Baker's first 2 games this season, the first game and a half really, we saw him get cooked. He looked inexperienced. He looked like he didn't know what he was doing. And the Giants had him predominantly in zone. And this kid has never played zone before. He's a cover, he's a guy that gets up in the wide receiver's face. He's press coverage. That's what he is. And the Giants seemed to make that adjustment last week. And he did a fantastic job. As bad as the Giants secondary was last week. And it was bad. He was very good. Chris Godwin came into that game as the leading wide receiver for the Bucs. You barely heard his name. He might have had 1 or 2 catches. DeAndre Baker did a great job for the Giants last week in coverage. And hopefully he can continue to build off of that. But overall, both Lawrence and DeAndre Baker to this point, and I think they're going to get better. But to this point in the season, I'll give them both like a C. I think they'll get better. But based on where they were drafted, DeAndre Baker certainly in the Cowboys game got killed. And same thing with Buffalo, when Cole Beasley picked up a huge third down on us early on in that game where DeAndre Baker was awful in coverage. But he's gotten better, and I expect him to continue to get better, especially now that the Giants have made that adjustment. I do love both of those guys, though. I think they're going to be vital pieces of this defense going forward. Next up, we're going to go with the edge rush. O'Shane Ximines, who we got in the 3rd round out of Old Dominion. I believe he's the first player ever drafted out of Old Dominion. And the Giants, of course, need all the help they could get there at that pass rusher position. So far this year, our leader is Marcus Golden, the guy that I projected would lead the team in sacks at the beginning of the year. He now has 3 sacks, but Ximines has a sack and a half. And he's not on the field all the time, so he's really produced when given the opportunities. And hopefully Ximines can build off of this. Maybe he has a 6, 7, 8 sack season. We'll have to wait and see, but you got to like what you've seen out of the kid so far. He's come up with 1.5 sacks. He's a very good football player. Again, much like DeAndre Baker. Not the best athlete in the world, but he's a guy that's going to come out. You know who else wasn't the best athlete in the world? Who we got, I believe, in the 3rd round? Justin Tuck out of Notre Dame. So maybe this kid develops into something. We'll have to wait and see. But I like O'Shane Ximines. I like the pick. And again, we have young players on this defense. We've said that all offseason. And they're going to get better and better and better as the season wears along. And O'Shane Ximines has a sack and a half. He's going to get probably more playing time as the year, wears down. And I like the kid. Don't like him as much as the first 2 players, but I think Ximines could play a vital part of this defense in the future. This draft class has played well. We still haven't gotten to see Julian Love. We still haven't gotten to see Corey Ballantyne. 2 players we're really excited about. But the players that I think most people would say, at least to this point, where Gettleman has hit a home run in this year's draft, we're in the 5th round. And we're going to start with the first one, and that is Ryan Connolly. Ryan Connolly out of Wisconsin. When we drafted this kid, everybody said, lacks the quickness. He's going to be a good special teams player. That's why the Giants drafted him, special teams. And he certainly is good at that. But I don't think anybody expected this guy to be as good as he's looked on the field. I mean, in the middle linebacker spot. He's got an opportunity, and he has ran with it. Ryan Connolly has come up with the team's lone turnover. He got an interception last week. But the guy has underrated quickness, side to side. He's a hard-nosed linebacker. He has good instincts on the run. He could, not the best in coverage, but he's good, lateral quickness. I like Ryan Connolly a lot. I think he could be one of those tough football players. And for where we drafted him, I think you got to give the Giants an A here so far. To get that much production out of a 5th-round pick, guy looks like he'd be a starting middle linebacker in the league. Love the pick there by Gettleman. Great pick there by Gettleman. Great pick. And hopefully he continues to build off of that. Of course, Alec Ogletree is going to be out this week. Connolly's our best middle linebacker. He's our best middle linebacker right now. And then finally, a guy that a lot of us were excited about coming into the year, and that, of course, is Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton out of Auburn. Now, Auburn had a bad offense last year, right? And The knock on Slayton coming in was that he wasn't asked to do a lot, right? He didn't run a lot of complex routes. It was basically just curl patterns and vertical routes, which is what the Giants are going to ask him to do. This kid's upside is off the charts, and for the Giants to get him in the 5th round was a steal. He's 6'2". He's got great quickness. He ran in the 4.4s on his 40 time. Great vertical leap. The kid has all the tools you could want in a wide receiver. He's tall, he's fast, and he's athletic. Just got to learn to run the routes a little bit better. But his first game last week with Daniel Jones against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, what more could you ask for? He had 82 yards on 3 catches, showed the deep ball ability. I think him and Daniel Jones may have a connection there for the foreseeable future. The only question with him, with Darius Slayton, can he stay on the field? The guy has suffered 2 hamstring injuries since being a New York Giant. But in terms of skill and upside, for a 5th round pick, that's an A+. And overall, so far, 3 weeks through the season, you got to be encouraged with this rookie class. Between Daniel Jones, Ryan Connely, Zimenez, Darius Slayton, and I know that Deandre Baker and Dexter Lawrence are going to get better. This class looks good. And Julian Love and Corey Ballantyne may still have something to prove as well. We'll have to wait and see. To go along with last year's draft class, which I think we all agree was pretty strong, the Giants certainly have a bright future for years to come. So, we'll see how they play on Sunday against the Washington Redskins. As always, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.